lovely people, thank you so much for clicking on my video. My name is Liza Live and welcome to my channel. Woo! So as you know, this will be episode 3 of the wedding planning series. I hope you're enjoying it so far. If you are, make sure you like, comment, subscribe and stick with me as I've got so much information to share with you guys. You've watched episode 1, which is all about resting and going off to write down your ideas. In episode 2, you've started counselling and you've started discussing your final backbone of your dream wedding, or what your dream wedding should look like. In this episode and moving forward, I'm going to take different aspects of all parts of the wedding planning areas that you're going to deal with and talk about them individually, because obviously everybody's different, everybody's wedding is different, everybody's time scale and dream wedding looks completely different from the next person. For example, today I'm going to be talking about whether or not you need a wedding planner or you can in fact plan your wedding yourself. The next episode we're probably going to talk about, you know, finding your venue, wedding dresses, traditional weddings, videography, photography, what to look out for. So I'm just literally going to look at all different areas or aspects of weddings, and I'm going to share that with you guys. And then obviously you guys are at liberty obviously to pick and choose what you want to go with or what can apply to you, and then the ones that don't apply to you can absolutely ignore. So that brings me to today's episode. My question to you is, can you plan your own wedding? And I'm gonna literally break down everything to you. I genuinely believe that you can plan your wedding yourself. Yeah. My husband and I plan our wedding ourselves, and if you don't know, my husband and I had 3 weddings. So we literally did a traditional Ghanaian wedding, we did the legal wedding here in England, and we also had a white wedding, which was the finale that summed everything together. Wedding planners are very expensive. Yes, you can find a wedding planner that is within your budget, but I really feel like a very good wedding planner will probably charge you starting anywhere between £3,000 upwards. Especially the really good ones, they're not cheap. Hear me out. You can find somebody that can help you with your wedding planning that might charge you less, but you need to do a lot of research. Now, let me explain to you why they're not cheap, and I feel like I'm gonna just paint a few pictures for you, and then at the end of this episode you can go off and have a think with your partner and decide for yourselves what works for you. I didn't understand this at the beginning, so it was a bit difficult for me to understand why they charge what they charge. A wedding planner is somebody that you will tell exactly how you want your dream wedding, and their job is to execute it with your budget to make it look as great as possible. You can then take the passenger seat to your wedding and not have to stress about all the details of wedding planning. Yeah, of course it's your wedding, so they're gonna confer with you to make sure that they're doing exactly what you want, but you won't have to worry about research. You won't have to worry about going out there and finding vendors that work for you. You won't have to worry about sending out numerous emails. You won't have to be worrying about keeping an eye on email updates. So to have a typical wedding, a decent typical wedding without all the extras, you will need at least a venue, caterer, your drinks. You will need videographer, photographer, coordinator, person to do your cake, decorator, someone that's gonna tidy up after everything. Those are the very least the things that you're going to need, unless of course you're having a 10-man wedding or a wedding reception which involves just going for a meal after and you're done. A typical wedding reception involves these things. You're going to have to do a lot of research, finding a venue that makes sense. Now, a lot of the problem that I realized, or my partner and I came to during our planning stage, was that a lot of the venues that we really loved aesthetics wise was not within the budget. You'll be surprised, there are some venues charging 15-20k and above. There are also venues that might be able to, you know, may make sense for your budget, but the aesthetics might not be there. So maybe outside of it might not look great, but the inside looks great, or the inside is not that great but outside looks great. There's so many things, like it's crazy. You're gonna go through hell to narrow it down, because sometimes you might find a perfect venue that makes sense for everything, but then the downside is they will not allow you to bring your own caterer. You have to use their caterers on their list. You can find a very beautiful, perfect venue, great for your numbers, but they have a sound limiter, and a lot of DJs don't want that. If you're a party person, that might be a downer for you. But it's just so much, and I will be so real with you. The only reason why I was able to do it was because I had a hands-on partner. So first things first, is your partner hands-on? Because you're gonna need the two of you, the pair of you and more. Do you have a hands-on wedding party that are willing to be out there helping you search for certain things, or are you one man can do it all type of thing? This is something that you need to think about. Every vendor you're going to come across will have their contract, okay? Their terms and conditions that you're going to have to agree. Now, some vendors can be a little bit cheeky and have certain hidden costs. Some vendors can be a little bit cheeky and not paint the full picture for you. Now, this is where if you have a wedding planner, most of the time they have a very good relationship with the venues and other vendors already, so you won't have to worry about stuff like that. If you are dealing with it yourself, it means that on the day or during the planning stages leading up to the wedding day, any cancellations, any problems, any issues, any miscommunication, it all falls on you. Okay, I'm painting a picture here. It's not straightforward that boom, I like this vendor, I've paid for them, and that's it. There are literally issues that will pop up here, left, right and center, and you, while you're doing your full-time job, if you're a mom, you're still looking after your children, you're still paying your bills, you're still doing your day-to-day activities, you're still trying to keep fit, you're still trying to look good, look after yourself and your fiance and your family and everything else. It's a full-time job. Okay, it's a full-time job, so you're going to have to take on a full-time job on top of what you're already doing. So that is something that you have to consider. If ever your mind changes during your planning process and you want to make any changes, or you want to add or remove certain things, you're going to have to be back onto the board and doing further research for however long it takes that leads up to your wedding. Most people plan their weddings within 6 months. We did ours within a year. Within that year, a lot of things happened that fell on my husband and I to make sure that we had it done. One of the things that we went through, one of my makeup artists for the wedding cancelled. This was to do with my bridesmaids, thank God it wasn't to do with me. For the traditional wedding, we wanted to change our date to do it over the weekend so that we could invite more family members that couldn't make it during the week. And so we were considering changing the date. We sent her an email to ask if we could change the date. Apparently she responded and said no, and decided to cancel the appointment and take on somebody else. Now, there was a miscommunication at that point, and we don't know what went wrong, but she cancelled on us and we then had to find a new vendor. Now at this stage we had already decided we weren't changing it, so we didn't need her to cancel, but she had already cancelled it and we didn't know until it was too late. So imagine if this was my vendor as the bride. I feel like the bridesmaids, in the end, they did their own hair like somewhere else before coming to the venue. But imagine if it had to do with the bride and it was cancelled all because of a misunderstanding. That all will fall on you to find a backup. And imagine if the cancellation is like maybe a week or a few days to the wedding. It's like very stressful. So these are some of the things that you have to consider. If you and your partner are hands-on and you can deal with stress really well, then I'll be so real with you. You do not need a wedding planner. What you will then need, I will 100% always say this, is a coordinator, because my coordinator, I can recommend Moments to Remember for you. She was so brilliant that, I thought like with coordinators, she was just gonna know, we were just gonna give her the information, and on the day she was gonna turn up and just do what she needed to do. But she communicated with us way before, and what she did was, leading up towards the wedding, she put up a spreadsheet with all the information, timings of when vendors are supposed to get there, timings where bridal wedding parties were supposed to get to certain places. She put all of that together. She also made phone calls to vendors to ensure that things were still in place. All these things I would have had to do myself if I didn't have a coordinator. So coordinators are absolutely a must. I don't care if you're a great planner, please have a coordinator. Like, you can use a family member too if you want to. I don't recommend that, only because family members tend to also need to be present or want to be present and not miss the day, so they can get carried away and chat away and forget about what their duties are. But if you have a paid person to get the job done, they don't care if you're an auntie from wherever. They're there to listen and do what the bride has asked them to do, and they will do exactly that without, you know, going astray, or without doing things, going off and doing whatever they want. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you've paid for a service, they will deliver. But if you don't pay for a service and you ask for a family friend or somebody to do that job, if they don't get it done right, what are you gonna do? You can't do anything. Like, you're just gonna have to take it on the chin and keep it stepping. So please don't play about when it comes to a coordinator. And if you are getting a planner, a lot of the times they will coordinate as well. So I guess that's the good thing about if you're having a wedding planner. It is so stressful. A lot of the times the people that will stress you the most are the closest people to you, and sometimes when you have a planner, they can deal with that person. And it's like, a lot of the times you can be dealing with a lot of emotions, and if somebody's your family, your close friend or sister or cousin or something, if they're not doing things as they're supposed to, it hurts more, because you attach the fact that, oh my gosh, but you're my family, oh my gosh, but you're my very good friend, why are you doing this? But if, for example, a wedding planner is doing that kind of communication instead, they might even be more prone to listening to them than they are to you. I know it sounds crazy, but these are the type of things that happens. Number one, are you good with emails and being patient and being able to articulate yourself properly? Are you able to read your contracts properly and do your own research as well as you're doing today, watching this YouTube video and watching other YouTube videos? Because there's so much information on what to look out for in a contract, red flags in vendors, all that kind of stuff. Are you able to put in that work to make sure that you're doing all the right things that you're supposed to do before and after and during booking a vendor? Do you have the time to put aside to go out there fetching and looking and searching through different venues and vendors before finalizing on which one you're gonna go with? Are you absolutely sure that you're frugal enough to be able to do all the research to find what works best in terms of pricing for you? Because sometimes you end up booking a vendor and then realize that you could have had it cheaper but even better with a different person. If you have a planner, these things can be avoided. This doesn't mean that you can't do it yourself. You can. It just means you need to do more research. So are you that kind of person that can really do a lot of research to make sure that you're finding the right vendor for yourself? Or are you gonna give it like the second, third person that you find because you can't be asked anymore? Can you rely on your partner? I would say if all these 5 things are stuff that you can do, then absolutely you can save your money and plan the wedding yourself with your partner. But if unfortunately you can't, you're missing out on at least 2, I would say 1 of these things, then you should seriously consider having a wedding planner. Most people do say once you've found the venue, so if you're that lucky person that knows as your venue, like you know exactly what venue you want and you already have the money for it and you don't really need to be looking elsewhere, that's another reason you don't need a wedding planner. Because a lot of the times even wedding planners will tell you, once you've booked your venue and you've got your caterer, you don't necessarily need a planner. You might just need a partial planner, which is a thing, somebody that will help you plan partially and also maybe with your coordination. Some of the things that I've heard of not in my personal experience, most wedding planners will help you get a cheaper deal. So for example, a lot of the times other vendors, when they're being booked by another vendor, they tend to give them like a vendor price compared to if you're a normal person trying to book with a vendor, they'll give you the normal customer price, but then the vendors can give you vendor price. I don't know how true it is because I can't speak for that, so that's another thing to consider. With that being said, all the best with making your decisions. If you have any questions, please leave it in the comment section. I hope you've enjoyed this episode so far. If you have, please make sure to give me a big thumbs up and follow me for more videos. And guess what? Happy wedding planning! Mwah.